So this is important, number one, to understand once again, if you even need an income annuity versus a growth annuity, or you may need a little bit of both. So so first of all, we're going to solve for that long-term income need and factoring in all the rising costs that you need. So we can, one thing we know for sure that really truly the private companies, the insurance companies are much safer, and even your money's much safer there than it probably is with the federal government, and Social Security and all that kind of stuff. So what happened, years ago is that, corporations lobbied our politicians in the early 80s to take away pensions. And so, unfortunately, like when we do educational seminars or we sit down with folks and we ask people in the audience to raise their hand, how many people here have a pension? And really maybe a third of the room will raise their hand, or even less than that. It used to be, a lot of people raised their hand back in the day. So pensions are getting very few and far between. And that was because our wonderful corporations, corruptly lobbied our corrupt politicians in the early 80s, and they created the ERISA Act. I think it was like 1982 or something like that, where they created the 401k. And so the 401k, I call it the big lie and the big steal. They basically said, hey, they took the politicians to the side and said, hey, we don't want to pay and take care of people, and we don't want to, pay them pensions. So let's get them to put their own money into the savings, and, maybe we'll match it a little bit, which is a nice tax deduction for us. But we don't want to be responsible for these people's entire lives to, give them a guaranteed paycheck. And so every company slowly took away until they vanished. In fact, when I first started in this business, I worked at a big bank and they had a pension. Well, every year I was there, I was like, oh, the pension's going away, taking away. And so it just got smaller and smaller until it evaporated. And then they sold the company, and that company's not offering the pension anymore. So that way to make it vanish. And so, and this was nothing more than corporate and political corruption at its finest. And so, pensions aren't there anymore, and the companies that you work for are certainly not going to take care of you, and you're just a number. And so they expect you to put your own money away into a 401k to create this nest egg, or this potential retirement supplemental income for yourself in the future. But by the way, inside the 401k, they expect you to somehow be able to manage your own money and make the right investment decisions. There's no real good safety in there. You don't have access to annuities or anything else in there to provide you guaranteed income. You're just rolling the dice and hoping that the markets deliver, and hoping that you make the right decisions and select the right investments over your time. And so it's very and they sold you the lie of, well, put this money in here, it's going to be pre-tax, so we're not going to tax you on that money you put in there. Well, guess what? You're just kicking the can down the road. Now you've got this bigger nest egg with a larger tax bubble that the government's probably licking their chops. Like, we have a $38 trillion deficit right now, and like over $9 trillion is just sitting in retirement accounts or 401ks. And so maybe the government's licking their chops because they know they can pull that money out and tax it. And, the 401k is unfortunately, the government's like 30-40% partner in that. So it's not all your money. So, being able to, if you're in that retirement red zone, so unfortunately you were put into a system that really didn't do you any good or justification long-term. Yeah, some people did great. You put money in there, the company matched it, you had it really poised for growth, you picked the right investments, and you've done really well. But what we typically see is like 95%, mistakes or opportunity cost was lost based on forecasting, projecting. Like, people are happy, they come in, hey, I saved $1 million for retirement. But we're like, well, I don't say this to them, but like, you could have had 2 million if you were invested properly. You know, we can see it as advisors, the mistakes that are made, but you know, having to rely on that market volatility is scary. So what's exciting now is that things are changing. If you're in that retirement red zone, or we call it the retirement danger zone, you're 5 years, 10 years out, you can now, the laws have changed. You can actually select an advisor to help you manage your 401k. You can even be able to purchase annuities inside there and create a guaranteed deferred income for you. And so we can get to you now and do that planning in your early 50s, so you can have that good defined income or paycheck that the government and the corporations took away from you. And so we've got to create our own personal pensions, which, by the way, it's very exciting, folks. Like, we can do way better than those pension plans anyways. And so, you know, what we see a lot of times is folks that come to us that do have a pension or a pension option. There's still some of the big kind of blue chip companies out there. Some come to mind that we work with, people like AT&T's of the world, or the automobile companies of the world, or mostly your government employees, like your first responders, sheriffs, things like that we work with. Teachers, you know, they're in the Florida retirement system. They were offered either a pension or investment plan. And so we still see government employees with some type of pension, which is okay. But you have that option to not take the pension, enroll it, or take a lump sum, or go into the investment plan. I would do that before I'd roll into a pension, because we can show you, by utilizing the private companies that are out there, the insurance companies, you know, these strong, great A-rated carriers, the Nationwides of the world, like, you know, we can build you your own personal pension that you now have control of. It's yours. You own it. It's not in a corporation where any